Hello world. In this quick tip video, we're going to go through a rapid deployment of Microsoft LAPS or Local Administrator Password Solution. Basically, this tool allows us to centrally manage the local admin accounts on all our member workstations and servers, so we can set unique and strong passwords without having to synchronize them across the network. Simply being is if you use the same password everywhere, a breach on one system could be exploited and breach multiple systems. So Microsoft gives us a nice little tool to keep that for us. So this is the website for LAPS. I've already downloaded the LAPS 64 client, and the goal is to deploy it to our managed systems. But for that, we have a couple prerequisites to look at first. Number one, this is a default sort of standard Windows domain. We can see domain controller, a domain server, and a Windows 10 workstation. Now, normally these end up in, by default, Windows puts these, Active Directory, puts these in computers, but in reality, we want to place them in their own unique OUs or organizational units. And the main reason that is because that is how we can apply a group policy object or GPO. A lot of people don't realize this, but when if you notice the icon change for built-in and computers, and these down here, you cannot actually apply a GPO to those. You have to create a GPO and apply it to an OU, hence the funny little icon. So as you can see, we have our domain server, a member server here, and our member workstation here. Obviously, you can have a larger structure, but we're keeping this simple. So first thing we want to do is come in here, and because we're going to be managing this in a typical domain environment, we're not going to do everything under the single admin. So let's go and create a LAPS admins users group. And in that, we're going to place right now just our main administrator. But obviously, in production, you'll have, if I could type administrator, that would help. There we go. We would enable any member of LAPS admins to manage this password. The basic way the LAPS works is we're going to need to extend the schema of Active Directory so that we can store the passwords inside an attribute of the various computer objects. So for that, we're going to be delegating that ability to members of the LAPS admin group. So before we get started, before we get started, we need to install LAPS. What we're going to do, before we can extend the schema, we need the schema capabilities present. So I've already downloaded the LAPS client of LAPS tool. It's on all-in-one. So I'm going to go ahead and install it on the domain controller. Caveat, we're installing the domain controller, which means when we do, a LAPS policy could be applied to this system. Now, in reality, we probably don't want to do that. We're just using it for admin purposes. If you have a highly delegated environment, you would be installing the LAPS tool on your admin workstations. You wouldn't necessarily need to deploy it to your domain controller. You could just remotely manage it. But to keep things simple and common to small, medium enterprises, it's kind of done. Admin stuff's done from a domain controller. In this case, if you had multiple, we'd probably need to do this on our multiple domain controllers to have the tools present on all of them. So for that, once it's installed, you can see it went pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and launch an admin command prompt. And first thing we need to do is extend the schema. So for that, we're going to first come in and import the, oops, I'm sorry, I meant to do a PowerShell. For that. And that's always helpful when you click the wrong thing. Add PowerShell. There we go. We're going to import the PowerShell applet for that, and then we're going to update the schema. Now, this is all the commands I'm tapping here, or actually pasting it in, are found in the documentation. Now, in order to extend the schema, I obviously have to be a member of the schema admins group. So if you are, so any account that has schema admins permissions will be able to do this. Obviously, you run in a tightly controlled environment, you'll need to re-add and grant yourself schema admins permissions in order to do this, then rip it back out. So schema admins has been done. That's cool. So now we need to go and delegate the modification, the permissions between the domain computers to the schema admins. I'm sorry. We're going to delegate the permissions to use these features, the LAPS features, for domain computers to LAPS admins, and for domain servers to LAPS admins also. So there we go. First thing we need to do is add the permission to do the management to domain computers. We'll do the same thing for domain servers. And then we complete the process of delegation to labs admins for domain computers. And then we do the same thing for domain servers. And there we go. That's the extent of the setup. So that's the hard part done. So now all we need to do is we're going to come into Group Policy Management Console, and we need to do two things. One is deploy our Laps client out to our member system. So if we look at the domains here, so obviously we have domain computers and domain servers. I'll start with domain computers. I'm going to go ahead and create a Laps policy GPO and client. So I'm going to cheat and do something strange. I'm going to put the Laps client as part of the same policy I'm doing for to be compartmentalized and nice and neat in this particular scenario. So let's go ahead and edit. So first thing I want to do is handle the software deployment, and that is under, software settings. Should make that bigger so I'm not clicking around so much. New package. Now I already have just cancel that. So of course I need to put this in the right location for deployment. Now I actually already have on this domain controller, I have our software distributions here already in place. So let's just go and create a Laps folder, paste the MSI in. And now when I create my package or apply the package, I can go to //labdc/ I'm going to software Laps MSI. There we go. So now I have my apps MSI. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and do an advanced because I'm going to do one little extra thing, which can be useful if you're not that familiar with doing GPO-based software deployments. I'm going to check the box here for uninstall the client if it falls out of management scope, meaning if I take a machine out of this group, the Laps client gets removed automatically. Can be useful for just cleaning up the systems when you move things around. So I don't need to do anything more than that. So the Laps client is there prepped for setup. Now I just need to come in and do the Laps policy. So notice the extensions and all that stuff have put the schema extensions and the application have put the necessary widgets into the MMC. And I'm just going to concentrate on two basic things. At the moment, I want to enable Laps password management. Now, for the purpose of the demo, I'm just going to drop this 8 characters and keep it relatively simple because I'm going to be typing in these passwords back and forth. Now, in reality, you probably want to do a 16 character at least, and we can probably do something arbitrarily short like 7 days. Again, obviously in the reality, I'm going to use a very complex 16 characters would probably measure where I'd start. Click on that. And I'm going to turn on the paucity, the second option for enabling password management. These you can go in later for the purpose of the quick demo. This will do the trick. So that's it. It is set up and ready to run. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up the Laps admin tool that we're going to use from the admin side of things. So don't have to do anything else at this point. This tool will read the passwords when they're set via the Laps client from the attributes inside Active Directory. So now let's go to our PC. We did that for that one for the domain computers group. Let's go ahead and do a GP update force. Now this should normally force us to reboot. Should take just a moment. Here we go. Just letting us know that due to the client-side extension, we need to reboot. Yes, let's go ahead and reboot. This should be pretty quick. And okay, I can wait for it to reboot, or I can just make it go faster. Let's go faster. Take a quick sip. Now, actually, while I'm doing that, I have faith in my demo. So let's go ahead and do that this way. Let's go back into Group Policy Management Console, and let's go and go to Domain Servers and link the policy here at the same time. So what this means is we've now applied the same policy to domain servers. Now, note, we did not do anything with domain controllers because we don't want to accidentally modify and use the labs tool. Again, we're running on the domain server or domain controller. So again, just be careful of that. So in the meantime, while that's rebooting, I'll go and do the same. Oops. I'll do the same thing here, and we'll go ahead and do all systems at the same time. Why not live on the edge? Or as the joke goes, we'll do it live in a demo. GP update. Gorgeous. And this time I'll correctly remember not to bother rebooting or triggering the reboot inside the command. I'm just going to reboot from here. So at this point, we see that we should have. Now I'm going to go and test it and try to log in using the original password for this system. Oops, and it's in the local context, so it'll be lab/-pc. And password does not work. Okay, so I don't need to do anything more at this point. Let's come back, and so basically it has set the password to some randomized a character, upper, lowercase, and number string. So how do we view what that password is? Well, that's what this labs UI tool comes from. So what we need to do is search for the object, and we know it's lab/pc, and lo and behold, there's the password. So I'm going to try and remember this as I type this. Actually, I'll copy and paste it out to a different screen. So what do we say? Z8, capital Z8, UMI-GEI. All right, so let's try this again. Lab/PC, local administrator. And what did I say it was? It was Z8 UMI. I think that was all lower. Nope. U was uppercase. Then GEI with a capital. And there, look at that. Works just fine. I'll let that continue. So back here. So yeah, so let's go and check out Lab app, which obviously that server has now booted. And if we search on that, notice it's put a nice randomized password as well that expires no more than every 7 days. So a nice fast amount. You can even drop that shorter if you want to be super squirrel, top secret, and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's it. Now, one last thing before we go. If you want to reset a password and force a change, here's how you do it. Come into here. Let's go back to lab/PC. And what we're going to do is click set on this. And what that does is it resets it to, we basically did nothing, click force immediate password expiration. So now remember it was Z8, something. So what we need to do to prove its change or to make the change in here, let's going to come into a command prompt, do a GP update force. I've never tried doing it from a local admin. Let's give it a try. It should do it, I think. If not, I'll log in as a domain admin and we'll try it again. Update. I think it still works. And okay, so search for again, and if everything went well, this password will change. Look at that. Thing of beauty. That's how you expire a password. So when you're doing logins and all the rest, transfer this to anyone that needs to log in locally, and you're all set. So that's it. That's a super rapid deployment of LAPS. Hopefully you found this useful. It took away the scariness of doing this on a, at least you've seen this now as you start testing on your production domains. We don't always have a test environment to play with, but obviously you should feel more comfortable doing this. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.